So we are talking about the zero of linear functions. So that is the title. Okay, so the zero of linear functions, that is going to be just a fancy word for the x-intercept. So anytime you see zero, you need to think x-intercept. X-intercept, zero. Zero, x-intercept. The x-intercept is whenever you have a number for x and a zero for y. So x is some number. Okay, so we are going to need different equations to find our x-intercept. So we're going to do some examples. We're going to do it by hand, and then we're going to do it with finding the calculator, or using the calculator. So example 1, we need to come up with an equation. I had my little sticky note of equations. Does anybody see a sticky note around here? I know, I have a few sticky notes, but not the sticky note I'm looking for. Well, that is no good. Do what? Pick a random point? I'll have to just use my book. Open the book. Okay, so let's use an example where it's f of x equals 2x plus 8. Okay, we are going to find the zero by hand first. To find the zero by hand, what do I have to do? Do y'all remember? Do what? What is f of x? What's another word for f of x? Function of x, and usually it's our y. So y equals 2x plus 8. So whenever I want to find the zero of the function, that means I want 0 to be in the place of y. So to find out what x equals when y equals 0, we're going to solve for x. So this is not only the x-intercept, but it's also the 0. So we can write it as the point -4, 0. So it's where it crosses the x-axis. So this is called the 0. The -4. -4 is the 0. It's where it crosses the x-axis. Remember how I said 0 is just another word for x-intercept, or a fancy word for x-intercept? That's what the 0 is. Okay, let's do another one. F of x equals -5x plus 3. So to find out what the 0 is, we're going to plug in 0 for y. F of x is y. So I'm going to say 0 equals negative 5x plus 3. Okay, so now I need to solve for x. Minus 3, minus 3. Negative 3 equals negative 5x. And then what do I need to do? Divide by the negative 5 on both sides. So negative 3 divided by negative 5 equals 0.6. No, put it as a decimal. So that means the 0 of my function is 0.6. The x-intercept, 0.60. That is my 0. Because whenever you think about, she asked, why do we turn it to a decimal? It's because we are looking at where it crosses on the x-axis. And so you think about a graph, and this is 0, and let's say this is 1. Where would it cross? 0.6. Would we say 3 over 5? Is that, so we're plotting it. So let's say this is 0, this is 1, so this is half. So 0.6 would be right here. So that's why we would change it to a decimal. Good question. Okay, let's do an example whenever we have standard form. (3x plus y equals negative 18). So we're finding the 0, so all we're finding is the x-intercept. So do y'all remember how to find the x-intercept? Put in 0 for which one? Y. So plus 0 equals negative 18. So that goes away, and we just have 3x equals negative 18. So I divide by 3. Negative 18 divided by 3, negative 6. So my 0 is negative 6, 0. Negative 6 is my 0. So whenever I'm talking about 0, I can actually just write it as negative 6. I don't have to write the point. So I should have done that on these other two. 0 is at negative 4. So go ahead and do that now. And then my first example was 0 is at 0.6. 6 Okay, our last example, we're going to do another one with standard form. So let's do negative 1/2 x plus 2y equals negative 16. Okay, so to find my 0, I need to plug in a 0 for y. So this is negative 1/2 x plus 2 times 0 equals negative 16. 2 times 0 is 0. So we don't need that anymore. So it's negative 1/2 x equals negative 16. divide by what? No, because this is negative 1 over 2. Negative 1/2. Do y'all remember reciprocal? Reciprocal, you flip it and multiply. So we need to multiply it by negative 2 over 1. This is going back to whenever we were solving equations. Because if I do, the whole thing is to get this to just equal x. So if I do negative 2 over 1 times the reciprocal, negative 1 over 2, I get 1. So that's just like saying x equals. Then we do negative 16 times negative 2 over 1. It equals 32. So my 0 is at 32. Okay, so now we can use the calculator to check it. So we are going to write some notes. Steps to find the 0 using the calculator. We're going to use the examples that we already have. Okay, so step 1. Put equation in y equals. So in order to put it into y equals, it has to be solved for y. So it must be written in y equals mx plus b. Okay, so let's go ahead and do it step by step. And as we do step by step, we're going to put more directions on here. So let's do our first example, the 2x plus 8. So everybody go to y equals. Clear out what's in there. And make sure your plot 1, 2, and 3 are not highlighted or shaded. Is your plot 1 darkened or is it just like mine? Okay. So we're going to put in the first equation, 2x plus 8. We're going to go to graph. So we just have 2x plus 8. Hit graph. Okay, so it looks like our 0 or our x-intercept is right here. Okay, so step 2 was graph. If you can't see it, you're going to zoom out. Okay, so right now we can see it. So we're good. So then we are going to, step 3, go to second trace, which is called calc. Second trace. So I'm going to put calc. What are we finding? No, because what are we actually finding? 0, yeah. You can only use intersect whenever you have 2 lines graphed. It did work? Okay. So we're going to go to 0. So everybody go to number 2, 0. And it says left bound. And so we've got to use our arrow over to get to the left side of where we think the 0 is. So it just needs to be the left side. So look at where mine is. Move yours over. Okay, so it should say left bound. So 5, move to left of what would that be? The left of the x-axis? Do you need to use the next page for this? You can. If you're running out of room on this page, you can go to the next page. Okay, push enter. I'm going to put enter. Then it asks another question. What does it ask? Right bound. So what do you think we need to move? To the right side. Move to right of x-axis. Make sure you're writing this down. So see how it does like a little dashed line? I guess it's not dashed, but just a really light line right there. Okay, right bound, so we move to the right side of the x-axis. Because what we're wanting to do is get close to that without going over. Okay, then we're going to push enter. And then step 7, it says guess. Do we want it to guess? Yeah, we do. Yeah. So we're just going to push enter. Whenever it asks the question, guess, push enter. Mine says 0, -4, 0. It's because, so if it says error, no sign change, let me see yours. Okay, so remember how I'm going to show the steps again here. Angel, follow my steps. So we're going to go to second trace. Go down to 0. Okay, so left bound, I need to arrow over here. Look at mine. Did you arrow over? Arrow over left. Right there. Push enter. Then arrow right. Enter. And then push enter. And it works this time, right? Yay. Okay, so it says 0, -4. Is that what we got whenever we did it by hand? Yeah, right there. 0 was -4. -4 is 0. Okay, so let's go to the next one. We're going to follow the same steps. So go to y equals. Put in the equation. -5x plus 3. And then follow these steps. Graph. Second trace, which is calculate. We're going to find the 0. We want to go to the left side. So in this case, it's going to be right here. That's the left side. Enter. Right side. You go down here. Guess. Enter. Did we get the same thing? 0.6. If you didn't, you need to ask your neighbor to help you. You need to show them you doing it. And then see if they can help you. Go to y equals, yeah. Go to graph. Okay, so the graph is off-centered. So that's dealing with your format. So you go to zoom. I want to go to standard 6. And that gets you back to where you want to be. All right. The next thing is one of these. Please be quiet. I want to do this one. So in order to do this one, I need it to have in y equals form. So right now it's at 3x plus y equals negative 18. But I wanted to say y equals. So everybody's on this example, right? Rewrite your equation. And we wanted to say y equals. So all I have to do is subtract the 3x on both sides. And I get y equals negative 3x minus 18. Okay, so let's do y equals negative 3x minus 18. Everybody put that into y equals? Okay, now go to graph. Okay, it looks like my intercept's right there, but I want to find it. So I follow the steps. Second, trace. I want to find the 0. Left bound. I need to find where my cursor is. Where is it at? No, you don't have to zoom out. Just look at going left and right until you see it. Oh, there it is. So you're just going to find it by going left or right. Look down here, and that tells you where it's at, the coordinates for where it's at. Look down here, and you want your x to be close to 0. I mean, your y to be close to 0. Okay, so left bound is right there. Anywhere right there. You're just estimating. Enter. Then go to the right bound, the right side. Then push enter. Guess. Enter. Negative 6, 0. If it didn't work, have somebody help you with it. Have a little faith. Shh. Okay, the last one is this one. Okay, we need to get this to say y equals. So negative half x plus 2y equals negative 16. I need to solve it for y. That means I need to add half x. And that gives me 2y equals half x minus 16. Then I need to get rid of the 2 in front, so divide by 2 all the way through. So it's y equals half divided by 2. I'm not sure. So I'm going to use my calculator. And do half divided by 2. Comes up with 1/4. So that means it's 1/4 x minus 16 divided by 2 is 8. Okay, so let's go to y equals and put that equation in. Alpha y equals for my fraction 1/4 x minus 8. And then I'm going to go to graph. Can I even see my x-intercept? Yeah, it matters. I'm going to have to see it. So what do I need to do? Zoom out. So zoom out. Where do I want to zoom out? The center, or do I want to scoot it over here more? I'm going to scoot it. Ah, can we see it now? Yes. I went to zoom number 3. And then whenever it gave me my cursor, I moved over to the right side so that I could see my intercept better. If you have to, zoom out again so that you can see it. Okay, so it was at standard number 6. Here, I'll show you again. So that's standard. So I'm going to zoom in, but I'm not just going to push enter. I'm going to move my cursor over because I know it's over here somewhere. My x-intercept's over here. So push enter. Whoa. That didn't do it. Uh-oh. Okay, maybe I zoomed in. Second quit. Zoom. Gonna go back to standard. Okay, let's try this again. Don't be afraid to mess up the calculator. You can't mess it up by putting in different things. All right, I think I did zoom in. So zoom out. Move over. Now push enter. There we go. I did zoom in. That's what I did wrong. All right, so now we need to do the second calc for 0. Okay, left bound. Right there looks good. Right bound, I just need to move it over so it's to the right side of the x-axis. So that looks good. Guess, yes. Did you get 32-0? No. Okay, so we can look at it again.